And we have the band on the phone. They're very punctual out in Minnesota. So welcome to Jazz on the Air with Captain Phil, guys. How are you doing?
Good. Doing great.
We're doing good, thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, this worked out great. We were just speaking about this at Prague Day, and it was kind of hilarious that a spot opened up for me. And and here you are. So
well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh no, it was great, and I think it sort of fit in. This is like normally a jazz spot, and I think your stuff, almost fits, almost fits into the square peg here, So we had to like shave it in a little bit, but I played a bunch of proggy weird stuff before you came on too to get everybody accustomed to it. Now. Let's talk about the band first. So OVRFWRD has been together for how many years now? 6 years.
And November 20.
And who in the band is dead set against using vowels?
Mark.
Yeah, that would probably be me. I'll take the rap for that one. It was kind of an accident. I was just doing some graphic design stuff, and made up a word just for a placeholder, and as everyone knows that's in a band, naming a band is usually the hardest thing to do, so we just decided on it. It didn't really have a whole deep meaning, and we went with no vowel, well, except one.
And the font was great because I remember standing at the merch table at Prague Day last week, and it was about 1,000 degrees, and the sweat was pouring off me. It's great to have a Prague music event in on Labor Day weekend in the hottest place on earth. I think they do that to replenish the reservoirs in North Carolina, so all us big Prague dudes perspire a lot, and now they have water for the rest of the year. And I remember blurrily staring at the font on your display, and the sweat was pouring into my eyes, and I thought I was having a seizure. Figured it out. Nice. But you guys are really, really cool, and you have a brand new album coming out, and I just played a track from that called The Trapper's Daughter. So we're going to go backwards and forwards a little bit, but while it's still on people's minds, what's going on with The Trapper's Daughter? What's the story with the title and where that track is coming from?
Yeah, Trapper's Daughter is it's the name of a piece of art, actually, that I bought for my girlfriend when we were up in Duluth in northern Minnesota last year. It was this beautiful this beautiful piece of art of this girl running through a field with all these forest animals running with her, and it says "A Trapper's Daughter Runs a Midsummer's Race." Thought that was such a cool title, and it just kind of stuck for a song name.
Very cool. And is this like a thematic album? Are all the songs tied together, or each track standing on its own?
It's each track standing on its own.
Yeah, they're all pretty different from each other, and Trapper's Daughter starts a little with an arpeggiator. It's a little bit electronica. Each track takes you on a little bit of a different journey. Each one has a different sound.
Oh, cool. And now this album is going to be, you were kind enough to send me advanced copies here, but this album is being released in about, 2-3 weeks?
Yep, September 29th it'll be released.
And if I were to, if I'm out in the Suffolk County, New York audience here, and I was digging on this, where would I go? Where would I go? Do you have a website with no vowels? How do I find you guys?
Why, yes, we do have a website with very few vowels in it. OVRFWRD.com, OVRFWRD.com. You can buy all our albums, all our merchandise. It'll be available on there probably first, and then after that, we'll have it distributed through.
It'll be on all the normal digital outlets, iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, all that.
And I mean, WUSB here in Stony Brook tries to support our local artists as much as possible. So I'm assuming You would prefer people to order directly from your website, so 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the way to go. So I mean, Amazon is awesome, and iTunes and everything is great. But if you really dig these guys, and these guys are like our local heroes here, right on Long Island. They're just out in some weird place called Minnesota. Didn't Mary Tyler Moore come from there? So, but it's the same scene, man. These guys, they want to get their work out there, and if you support the band. They're able to do even more great work and come to North Carolina and sweat with Captain Phil. So let's give that website again. It's overforward.com. Do I have it right?
Yep, and that's OVRFWRD.com.
Yes, and you have to. The only vowel is the O in the com.
Yep, exactly. And of course, we love and prefer any orders or anything to go through the website, and we'll give a little special attention to all the orders that come in.
You guys signing CDs and stuff for the fans?
Yeah, if requested, we've done that.
Yep,
definitely.
Beautiful. I cut somebody off. So what were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you go through the website, we'll send you FLAC. You
can get whatever format,
whatever format you want.
That's FLAC for audio files. Yeah, that's the high end. Right. That's the high end digital. Yeah. So if you're an old fart like me and you want it on CD, definitely go that way. But you can probably download from these dudes in any format you want: AAC, MP3, WAV, or FLAC for the FLAC. Not FLAC as in they're going to shoot at you.
Right. Although we might.
But any format anyone requests, we'll get it to them.
Beautiful.
That goes for all of our releases. So that'd be.
Are all the releases available in a hard copy, or have you gone digital with some of them?
All of them are released in a hard copy of one form or another. Our second studio album, Fantasy Absent Reason, is only available on vinyl for a hard copy, and digital as well. The other releases are available on CD, and the new release will be available on CD initially, and then we'll release that on vinyl as well, probably early part of next year.
Fantastic. And I actually, before I played The Trapper's Daughter, I played from Fantasy Absent Reason, your 2015 release. I played, let me see if I pronounce it right, Utopia Planitia. Is that right?
Perfect.
Yeah. Now, the reason I know that is because that's where they built the USS Enterprise D. So if you go back to Star Trek The Next Generation, the Enterprise D for that show was built in the Utopia Planitia fleet yards in orbit around Mars. Now, were you thinking about that when you named that piece?
Yes, Captain Phil.
We are cut from the same cloth. It was named after the shipyard in Star Trek. You are 100% on the nose.
Are you just humoring me?
No. That's absolutely right.
Oh, that's so great. That is so great.
It's awesome that you know that. So
I had to double check. I actually had to double check because I haven't watched Next Gen in a while. But I did Google it, but I'm saying, the Enterprise D was built above Mars, and it was Utopia Planitia. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I just hung out with Michael and Denise Okuda about 2 weeks ago, and they were the guys who did all the computer readouts on Next Gen.
Oh.
So
wow, that's cool.
I had a great nerdy time with those dudes, and it was just the best. So it was kind of amazing. So let's get back into the music though. So that's great. So that was coming from that, and this Fantasy Absent Reason only available on vinyl or a digital download, correct?
Vinyl digital download. That's correct.
All right, cool. Now, what is it like playing the music that you play and making the music you play in a place like Minnesota? I mean, is there a whole scene? Yeah, is there a scene going on there, or is it a sad, lonely thing?
It's a sad, lonely thing. Yeah, it's a little tough. I mean, there's a couple bands up here that are in the same genre that we are, but I wouldn't call it a scene. It's kind of more of a happenstance run into if it does happen. But we get a lot of support outside the city and the state, and that's kind of what we seem to gravitate towards.
And you guys came to North Carolina, not just to sweat, but to open up the Prague Day Progressive Rock Festival, one of the most respected and oldest progressive rock festivals in the United States. What was it like to play for that crowd, to have a big crowd who were really listening to your stuff that day?
It was great. There was all like-minded people there, and to do that was really a lot of fun. Kind of a little validation for what we do, and to see, again, like-minded people. It was just great.
Yeah.
Great time.
Very cool. We were honored to play. It was very cool.
Yeah, wonderful people, wonderful band. Everything about it was great.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
And hot.
And oh my goodness! Now, yeah, because it's been a few years where it's been fairly decent, and this was not one of those years. And one of the things that I usually stock up on CDs during that show, and this year it was just so hot I couldn't move. It was like I was immobilized. I was like trapped under the burning sun. So by the time I finally got to you, and there was like a few bands that had already left by the time I was getting to some bands to get station IDs and whatnot, and information. And I'm so glad we hit it off, and it was kind of cool. You were all there, and we had the obligatory Star Wars conversation and debate.
Yeah.
Sorry I brought that up.
Oh, that was hilarious. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it.
Fascinating. That's great.
In fact, I know. Well, this is radio, but I am wearing my Star Wars T-shirt in honor of you guys today. So, and it's the original Star Wars image. It is not A New Hope. It is like just Star Wars 1977 classic.
Oh, gee, nice.
But it must have been extremely gratifying to be there and to have all those people there listening to you, and then of course there's a lovely little thread going on the Prague Day Facebook site right now, where they're talking about the last band who played on your day. Oh, and their name has just fell out of my head. I'll have to go back and look them up. But you guys were just like watching them perform while that was going down, and there was like another band on the other side watching them as well. I mean, what was it like seeing acts you wouldn't see? Maybe not even pass through. Who was the band? I got it. Here it is. It was Soften the Glare.
Cool.
You guys were digging Soften the Glare. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like seeing all that stuff?
Yeah, that was awesome. And the guys from Karmic Juggernaut were there hanging out, and yeah, it was super cool because it's not the hugest festival, but everybody is hanging out together and getting along and spending time together and chatting up and networking and yeah, that's neat.
Well, and like Kyle touched upon, like-minded people, as far as all the fans or people that came to see music are like-minded, but in that same vein, all the bands were just so good and so different, and it was as fun for us to watch all these other bands and meet them and get to know them, and obviously people like you that made the festival as cool as playing it. So it was really, really fun.
Yeah, and the lineups and the years go by, but the lineups are spoke about many times. I mean, the friends that I've made there over the years, we just reminisce about various different bands we've seen there for the years that I've been going there, and just talk about, well, what about this? What did you think about that? And what about, and it's a great thing because sometimes you play this music and your wife says, well, can you turn that down? I don't really get this. I have a headache, that sort of thing. And it's kind of like puts you into a little bit of an isolation thing. And there it's like, no, this is all worthwhile, and it's very a doable thing, And I mean, a lot of times I'm friends with Joe Narduli of the band Ad Astra, who played, I believe, 2 years ago, and played Prague Day, and then those guys are Long Island-based fusion jazz. And Joe will say, I have a day job, I have kids in college, I have a lot of stuff to do, and it's really hard, to get this stuff out there. Are you guys under the same pressures? Are you still have like, the requirements of your daily life and trying to squeeze this art in between it?
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I think art is probably a bigger part of our daily lives, but of course we have our daily lives to support the art because it does require a lot of time and or finances. But yeah, I mean, it is who we are. It's what we do, and it's it's a challenge every day, but there's a lot of reward, especially in Prog Day and festivals like that.
So I read on your bio on what you sent out for Prog Day that you originally were going to have a vocalist when you guys formed, and the vocalist never actually showed up.
No, that's not true.
Okay,
that's half true.
Okay, go ahead, take it away.
You want me to explain it to you?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
We didn't send that out. I don't know, that ended up getting into some bios down the line a couple of years ago. It's half true. We were the talk of an instrumental band amongst Mark and I happened a good 2-3 years before this band actually existed. But Mark and I were playing pretty much Indian classical music,
right?
And it was just talk. We were playing sitar and tabla at a restaurant every weekend. Well, an old bandmate, buddy of ours, of Kyle and ours, called, who was living in L.A. And he came up here for a little reunion because we were in a band together years ago. We started jamming, so we decided to put a band together. And we called Mark in to do that. So this band existed for about 2 years. This was about 2009. And this is with vocals. So right out of the gate, though, we kind of knew this wasn't going to work. Nobody was really feeling it. We gave it a shot, but we knew this was going to be very short-lived. And we actually had a recording date set up to go in to do a session. And the singer called and said, "I'm sick, I can't make it." And that was really the catalyst for this band to start. So right away, we were like, okay, that's it. We're done. We're moving on. Mark and I spoke. We're going, yeah, exactly. So we spoke and we started building this band. Kyle was called, Chris was called. None of this material was material from that band, so it's kind of half true. That band breaking up kind of was the catalyst for this band to start and move, but the idea was already in place. So it wasn't really a situation where the guy didn't show up, and we just decided, well, we'll just continue on without him. It's half true.
That's a very entertaining story that's in the bio, but the truth is the truth, even if it's not as fun.
Yeah.
I've read that too, and I just let people run with it because
why not?
Yeah.
Well, it definitely gets you thinking about you guys. The band Shylock from France played Prog Day last year, I believe it was, and the lead, another instrumental band, Prog Day loves the instrumental band. I believe, Karmic Juggernaut was the only vocal band. No, it was Alex and the whatever.
The Eyesore.
Yeah,
the Eyesores also were singing.
Yep.
But Shylock, he was telling a story and in very broken English because French language speaker, and he says, our first concerts, I was singing, and the critic came up to me and said, "This is a great band if nobody sings."
I don't know how many times we have said that in the last.
Yeah, we've probably throughout our careers have tried to do the same and decided, no vocals are better than our vocals.
That's funny. That's really, really funny. So you guys now the whole Indian type music. So is there a large Indian population in Minnesota, and you were catering to that? You were playing in restaurants?
Well, what it is about 18 years ago, I started studying Indian sitar. And I sit with a teacher and just play traditional Indian classical. It was just on my own, had nothing to do with a band or any kind of fan base or anything like that. Not long after I started playing, Ricky started studying Indian tabla, which is the percussion accompaniment with the sitar, or they accompany each other. And in the course of our learning and studying, we started playing out and doing little odd performances and weddings and whatever comes of it, because there is, there's a general Indian population or a community that wants to hear that kind of music. And we had a gig at a restaurant that we play every week for 10 years now. And
over 10. Yeah.
so we play Indian traditional classical music at a restaurant on the side. And on this current album, this current OVRFWRD album, we've started to infuse that into the band. And so there'll be some music featured and performed that is down that road as well with Chris and Kyle. And it's cool. It's really exciting, and it happened really natural. And I think it's going to be a nice color to the album.
Yeah, I find that kind of fascinating. I'm a huge fan of the blues artist Harry Manx, who is from Canada, and he is combined. He plays the Mohan Veena, the 20-string guitar, and he has infused it with the blues. So he combines the Indian style raga music with blues music, and he has incredible stuff. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but you're like a prog jazz fusion type outfit here. Are there challenges incorporating that tonal structure and the traditional instruments into this type of band?
Most certainly. The music system has similarities, but it also has a lot, it's just totally different. There is some tonal challenges, whether it be with scales or microtones. The rhythm structures are quite a bit different. It typically turns out that the Western side of music has to adapt to the Indian classical side rather than the converse. So, it's challenging, but you do it long enough, and you have your creative inspirations, and you find a way to make it work.
And we did it on the new album on a song called Cosmic Billow. It was it's the first half of the song is guitar, piano, tabla, improvisational piece, and it's beautiful. It turned out really nice.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of piano, sitar stuff, but on the piano I found a good pocket to sit in, and it worked out.
Well, it winds up tuning is the hardest part. So, once you can conquer that, it's a little easier.
Do you see yourself coming back to Prague Day or maybe Rites of Spring or whatever the one is? What is it, Terra Incognita up in Canada, and bringing this part of the album with you? Do you think that will travel on the road?
Yeah.
We're doing we have a CD release for the new album at a place here called Cedar Cultural Center on the 29th, and we're actually opening the set with a sitar, tabla, piano, a lap, and opening that piece, song Cosmic Billow. So that'll be the first time we do it. It might be logistically, it'll be a little difficult to go on the road with it. But
we're certainly coming back to Prague Day, if not to perform, to just be a part of it, such as yourself and all the people that are there making a legacy every year, which is just fantastic. And like Ricky said, going on the road with guitar and tabla might be a little challenging, but we'll do what we got to do. I think it could be an important part to this album and promoting it, and we'll see what we can pull off.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, and we were actually talking about that a bit because I was talking about a good friend of mine, Yvette Torres Albano from the EVT band here on Long Island, and she's her heritage is Cuban, and she's an elementary music teacher, and her husband, play, Spanish American stuff, but her school that she teaches in Jamaica, Queens, has a very large Indian population. And she has been incorporating songs, these Indian children's songs, and learning them and incorporating them in the population. And it's Indian, it's African American, and there was one other population, maybe Cuban, maybe it was Cuban, that was like the highest or Spanish, just general Spanish population in the school, and she's bringing that into it. And it was, what was funny? I didn't say this that night. I'm going to say it now. Is I said to her, "Does anybody have a problem with that? Do any of the parents? Because this is a little kids music program. Do any of the parents have a problem with that?" So no, everybody loves it. They love it. Everything's going great. And I said to her off the air, because there's no white people going to school there.
Yeah. Probably why.
So I said it. I apologize. The opinions expressed here on Jazz on the Air with Captain Phil are the opinions of Captain Phil and not of WUSB or the vowelless band OVRFWRD. But I just find it that us Americans, us ridiculous Americans, are so resistant to interesting stuff like this. And when I first heard Harry Manx playing, and incorporating the blues with the raga music, I was spellbound. And I remember the show. He came here to Stony Brook, Long Island, and I, during the intermission, I went to the ATM and I took out $200 and I bought every CD the guy had.
Wow.
He had like 20 different CDs, and I loved it. And I play it often. So I very much look forward to hearing this and seeing, because I love progressive rock naturally, and I look forward to seeing how this works for you guys. Now, did you stay through Sunday with Eden's song at the end?
Yes. Yeah, we stayed through the whole festival.
And you didn't get struck by lightning, thank goodness.
No, there was some off in the distance, but we seemed to avoid it, luckily.
What did you think of their incorporation of the Japanese koto within their set? That's a new thing, and they're working very hard to incorporate that. It's another traditional instrument. What did you think of that?
To be honest, I don't know that we saw them. Now that you mentioned that.
You know what? They were the last band.
The very last band, yep.
Yeah, I think we were packing up, heading into some air conditioning. But I did YouTube them. I thought that was very cool. That using the koto in there.
Yeah, they just started doing that, and those guys are from New York City, and I've had them on my show a few times, and I went to a few of their concerts locally. So when I started to see lightning strikes in the distance, I said to myself, "You've seen these guys. You want to live."
Right.
But go ahead.
I feel bad that we didn't see them because I'd heard the talk of a koto being used at Prague Day, and there's a few players in Minneapolis that play that, and that is in itself just an amazing instrument. So it would be really cool to see how they infuse that into their music.
Yeah, well, that's the point, is that it's not just something they tacked on, on the outside. I think they worked very hard, because I've listened to their stuff without the koto, and then this tour that they're just doing, which kind of accumulated with the performance at Prague Day.
Okay.
It was front and center, and it wasn't just like a dash of koto here and there. It's like, oh, look, we're cool. We have this odd instrument. It was more like, this is a major part of the band. That's the thrust you're going with your Indian instruments, I assume.
Yeah, I think it's a part of the band. I don't know if it would ever be a main part of it, just for logistics and tonal combination. But it's again kind of part of who we are, and whether it's sitar with myself or tabla with Ricky or any instruments that Chris or Kyle play, they're going to wind up in the mix somehow.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of what we do.
Yeah, we didn't put it on the album to say, like you said, hey, look what we can do. Yeah, look how exotic we are. That's not why it's on the album. We've done, this is album number 4. So, and it's finally making it to the record, but it was just because the song called for it, and that's why it's on there.
Interesting. Well, I very much look forward to hearing that, and that's going to be released on September 29th. And if you go to overforward.com, that's OVRFWRD.com, you can get this digitally in any format, or you can order a shiny circular disc that the band members will even autograph. And I love shiny stuff, my friends. I just love it. So
we got one coming away.
Yeah, so you'll want to check them out, and definitely, now you guys have a decent YouTube presence also, or Bandcamp presence. We can check you out. Yep.
There's quite a few videos. We also have filmed and recorded a live set that's going to be released on DVD. So it's a live recording at a recording studio in Cannon Falls, Minnesota, and we've released the audio of that as a soundtrack, and the DVD will be available probably later this year, early next year as well. And so we've got a lot of stuff, a lot of shirts and albums. The new album that will be available later this month is called Blurring the Lines, a Democracy Manifest.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because I was looking at the cover art. You know, I'm so glad you steered me over there. I was looking at the cover art to that, and it's a lovely cover. And what does that mean? Let me call it up here on my computer here. Come on up here. Yeah. So a democracy manifesto. So exactly what are you talking about there?
Well, yeah, it's a couple things. Blurring the lines. We've all come from different musical backgrounds, between classical piano, Indian classical, metal, all this stuff, and we've gotten into jazz fusion. So people always ask us, what's your band? Like, well, it's kind of blurry. It could, some songs are this, some songs are this, some songs are this. And then the manifestation of democracy, I guess you could say, it's that everybody's involved. Everybody puts it together. Everyone has equal say in how all this goes down and how the creativity is manifested.
Well, I think that's beautiful. That's really awesome. And yeah, and I was gonna ask you about that too. So you guys get together and you're all collaborators. There's no one person in charge. You're all equal in decision making.
Actually, Kyle's in charge.
Kyle's in charge.
No. This is like, as the album title is. This is democracy. We all come in. Everybody brings in songs, ideas in one form or other. Sometimes more completed than others, but at the end of the day, it's all four of us jumping on it and turning the stuff into what it is. So this is definitely democracy here. And
is Ego invited, or does Ego stay outside?
This is the first band I think I can say, and I think I can vouch for everybody else. There's no ego in this band. There really isn't. I think we're too old for that now. We've all been through that. And
that's kind of part of the impetus of getting rid of the singers too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
No, we just come down with the tunes and we just work them out until we feel they're done, and then we go record them, and it's a very easy process for us.
And it's the most fun, I think I can say, for all of us that we've all had. It's just never a dramatic, ego-filled moment ever, and it's just a blast, and it comes, relatively painless and easy, and it's just a great time.
Because there's no Mariah Carey, see?
Right.
She sort of like sucks up all the air in the room and just takes it over, but you guys, I mean, would you turn her away if she knocked on the door and said, "I want to front your band"?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Make you fund it.
Yeah.
Vote on it. Yeah.
Right.
I actually remember seeing an MTV Cribs episode with her, and I think you guys could build a studio in her closet for her shoes.
Oh, sure. Her shoes are probably worth more than our equipment.
That's great. It is 5:34 here, and you're listening to WUSB Stony Brook 90.1 FM and W297BM Stony Brook 107.3, and we're streaming on the World Wide Web at www.wusb.fm with the band OVRFWRD, overforward.com, OVRFWRD.com, and they have a brand new album out with some great world music being incorporated into it. That's going to drop on September 29th. You go on the band's webpage, you can grab their CDs, you can look them up on the YouTube machine, Google them using the Google machine, Facebook them using that machine. Check them out and see what they did, and I'm sure there's tons of stuff floating around from the performance at Prague Day. There's pictures and stuff. So if you're digging what you're hearing, and if you're digging where these guys heads are at, they're at a very honest and artistic place, and it's quite nice, and they're from the planet Minnesota, where I hear it snows a little bit. Does it snow a little bit in Minnesota?
Yeah, kind of. That's what we've heard.
We had a record-breaking blizzard in the end of April this year, so yeah, it snows.
Great. Great. So has any of your gigs ever been snowed out?
No.
Oh, because
it takes a lot to snow you out in Minneapolis. I mean,
actually, yeah, I was wrong in saying that because I'm a Long Islander, and if we get like an inch or two, the world comes to an end. People are buying hundreds of gallons of of milk and like thousands of loaves of bread and dozens of eggs. It's crazy.
We have done equipment load-ins in the recording studio through snowbanks that go like halfway up to your waist.
Yeah. Yeah, we're tough.
Amazing.
With snow, but...
Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up, but I do have another track to play called Return to Splendor. But did I miss anything? Before we talk about Return to Splendor, was there anything else you guys wanted to include before I send you on your happy way? We have the Korean Life music show coming in at 6 o'clock, I believe, so we have to get ready for that as well. But I want to play this track for sure. So anything...
I would just say... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying a big thank you to you. Thank you for having us on this show, and Michael Bennett down at Frog Day for having us, and all the bands we met. It was a great experience last weekend, and it's meeting folks like you has been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. It was a pleasure meeting you, Phil. Everybody listening, listen to Phil's show. He's awesome, Captain Phil.
Alternate Thursdays, 3 to 5 p.m. I'm actually glad. Well, actually, I'm here because Bill, who's normally the host of Jazz on the Air, this is his week. He has a pacemaker and it shot off in his. So he's over in the hospital. He's across the street in the hospital, but he's okay. He's there with the nurses, and he's sending us pictures of really cute nurses who are working on him. So it's all good.
Bill's doing all right. Shout out to Bill.
So yeah, we want him to get better. And also, I'm always looking for this sort of thing, and I love talking about prog. I love music, I love listening to this music, and I love new ideas and new music, and the prog community is possibly the friendliest, nicest community that's out there. I mean, the folk music community and the folk rock community are fairly nice here too, but us proggers, well, we all look like Star Trek fans, actually, or Star Wars fans.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And don't forget Star Wars.
Hey, don't bring that up with us.
Yeah, I went on a huge rant, and I think it was a combination of a Star Wars rant / I was losing my mind from the heat. So.
Yeah, that's probably that part of it.
But it was great fun talking with you guys. Now, let's talk up this track here. So this is another track from the new album, and this is OVRFWRD and Blurring the Lines, a Democracy Manifest. And the name of this is Return to Splendor. What's happening here, guys?
Well, the song is again got a lot of angles and a lot of things kind of combining. There's some classical stuff and. I don't know.
It comes out swinging, though.
Yeah.
And this song is, out of all the stuff on the newest album, I think this one kind of harkens back to kind of traditional OVRFWRD. But this is a great song. Chris came in with this one, and we
fleshed it out.
Yeah, fleshed it out, and we're really happy with how this turned out.
It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff going on. Cool.
Yeah, there's a big Celeste solo. For those listeners who aren't familiar with the Celeste instrument, that one you hear in the Nutcracker. Dun, dun, dun,
Oh
dun,
yeah,
dun,
the Celeste. Yep.
It's like the piano with the that hits the bells. Hits the metal.
There's the famous Bartok piece, a music for percussion in Celeste. I believe they used it in the movie The Shining, where Jack Nicholson was losing his mind and talking to his son, with Danny's talking to his finger, and they're playing the Celeste in the background. Was anybody talking to their finger while they were playing the Celeste?
Well, we're probably talking to some inanimate objects. I don't know.
So yeah, that's an instrument that we pulled into this one, which was kind of fun to play around with, because it's percussive and it has an interesting tone, and so we threw that in there.
Well, we're going to play it. We're going to play it next, guys. thank you so much. And I always leave Prog Day with playing new bands and new stuff, and I'm so glad this opening happened. Well, I'm not glad that Bill is in the hospital, but I'm glad we were able to connect and do something positive with it, and sending positive vibes to our buddy Bill across the street, who is harassing the nurses over there. And also that we get you guys on the air. And listen, you have to promise us, if you ever come through the East Coast, you have to contact Captain Phil and have you guys on again and promote. Is any plans for ever coming back out here?
We are coming there. We're planning on that in the first beginning of the year next year.
Yeah, and we will be contacting Captain Phil, going to your planet.
You'll be the first one to know. We'll meet you at Utopia Planitia, and then we'll go from there.
We'll take a shuttlecraft down. Yeah, we could definitely have Counselor Troy hang out with us. She loves prog rock. Yeah, Counselor Troy, man.
Perfect.
She always knows what's on my mind. That. That would be fantastic. So definitely email or contact me, and hopefully we can connect. And Subspace Radio, and yeah, we will talk up whatever you guys got going out here, man. It'll be fantastic.
Awesome.
So this is
awesome. Well, thank you.
Thanks, guys. This is OVRFWRD. And this is Return to Splendor here on Captain Phil, filling in for Jazz on the Air. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
You too. Yeah, well, Bill.
Bye-bye.
Bye.